Welcome everybody once again. Welcome to Hult Price India. We've all heard about sustainability. It's one of the most discussed topics today with many of the issues that are facing our planet and our country around environment, around technology, around global warming, especially our current challenge on energy has a lot to do with sustainability. So let us look at sustainability now in terms of 2 or 3 different angles and see how we can build a sustainable enterprise. We will look at it from the point of view of technological sustainability, environmental sustainability, social sustainability, financial sustainability, and finally, programmatic sustainability. Technology is probably the key element of most of your enterprises. Technology is the heart of what you do. But have you thought about whether it's a green technology or a sustainable technology? There are 2 types of technologies. One is, of course, your fossil fuels and the ones which have a very large negative impact on the environment, and the other is alternative technology, which really looks at optimizing energy use from the point of view of reusability, limited exploitation of resources, and the like. In the middle, we have what's called green, which is using fossil fuels, but doing it in an effective manner with the least number of carbon emissions and the least impact on the environment. So I would like to focus a little bit on alternative technology, and I would also like to touch upon something which is called appropriate technology. So you don't necessarily need the most high-tech solution to be deployed everywhere. Sometimes it could be a very simple ground-up solution that solves a problem, which has a minimum amount of impact on the environment and on the social fabric of the place where you're trying to implement it. So look for appropriate solutions, look for alternative technologies. If you do have to lean on traditional energy sources, do explore green technology and how you can work to optimize it. I would request all of you to put a little bit of thought on getting the technology right before you take the next step towards building a business model, because the technology is the core. Then technology impacts environment. So what do we mean when we say environmental sustainability? So the environment is basically your social environment, which is if you're deploying technology in a rural area, you have a certain social structure there, a fabric of people who have been working, their relationships, their customs, and you don't want to disturb it. There is an environment there. Then there's an ecological environment. There may be forests, there may be rivers, there may be animals, there may be certain things which you don't want to disturb. And finally, the economic environment. So how much money is available there? What is the means by which your raw materials are purchased? Do your customers have an ability to purchase your product? By introducing a product, are you going to disrupt the local economy in such a way that it causes some impact which is undesirable? See, these are the type of things you need to think about. Now, social, ecological, and economic. If you see the overlap, it brings us to 3 things which we have to keep in mind. Is it bearable? Is it equitable? And is it viable? Finally, the sweet spot, what we call the sweet spot, the convergence, where it is bearable and equitable and also viable. This is what we call sustainable. So I would like you to think of sustainability as a combination of all these things. Try to spend some time with a piece of paper or a whiteboard, brainstorming with your team, and try to see how sustainable it is from an environmental point of view. Social sustainability has a few more dimensions, which I'm going to talk about. And this comes from, again, the purpose of a social enterprise. And you have to address the purpose. You have to ask a fundamental question. Why am I setting this up in the first place? And that determines how long it's going to survive. The clear purpose will be the binding force between all your stakeholders. It will also drive innovation. The clearer your purpose, the more spurred up you are to keep innovating on it. So it could be a passing whim. It could be just an idea that popped up in your mind or a desire to experiment. Now, if that's the case and you haven't tested it, you haven't thought it through, it's going to fail. Believe me, 9 out of 10 enterprises fail. Don't believe you're going to be different. I'm sorry if I'm pessimistic, but we have to plan. We have to think things through. We have to do a little bit of research. We have to see the impact on our end customers. This is very important, because our social enterprise not only impacts the success and failure of our team, our financial health, our enterprise, our stakeholders. It's also the society it is going to support, the impact it's going to have on the end users. So you have to be aware you have a serious responsibility which is on your shoulder. Whether you succeed or whether you fail, it works both ways. So if you succeed, you're going to have a positive impact, and that is your responsibility. You have to keep sustaining that positive impact, because if you fail, they're going to be denied the benefits of that impact, and there's going to be an impact of that in another way. So keep all that in mind. Remember, it's not just your life you're dealing with the lives of many others. So while you go on this journey, revisit your purpose from time to time. Keep it relevant, keep it current. Keep asking yourself, am I doing the right thing? Do I need to do something differently? Do I need to change something? As you get your answers, as you keep questioning yourself, you will be on the right path. And then, of course, every enterprise needs to be financially sustainable. So let's talk a little bit about what are expenses, what are revenues, and how we're going to keep profitable. When we talk about social entrepreneurship, we are not talking about an NGO. We are not talking about a publicly funded company where you are dependent on a grant or a government taxation. You are trying to be a self-sustaining enterprise, which means you have to make a profit. You have to generate some funds. So you need what's called financial management. You need to be at the very basic level. All you need to know is plus minus, what coming in, what's going out, what do we have, what are our assets, that is, what are the things that we own, what are the things that we have purchased or we own, things that we like, our office, like our desk, or, place, something that goes as raw material into building a product. What are the things that we own, and what are the things that we owe to other people? Maybe we borrowed some money, maybe we got a little loan, maybe somebody is helping us with something which we need to give back. So those are what's called liabilities, things that you have to give back to other people and which you eventually have to pay back. So assets and liabilities, you have to keep track. Of course, you have to keep track of income, which is money coming in, and expenses, which is money going out. So this, in a broad sense, is what's called fund management, which is the funds that you have available. So after your income comes in, and then you subtract your expenses from that. Income minus expenses. The remaining money is your profit. Your profit is what remains in your business. And the profit is really the funds which are available for you to carry on your business. So you can use that to further develop your product, to do some marketing, to travel, to get some logistical help. There's so many things you need that for. And you need to do good management of that fund so that you don't waste money, so that you don't run out of money, so that you have the money when you need it, and you're not constantly increasing your liabilities by borrowing from somebody. So you need to do what's called optimization of resources. You have a lot of resources which are available to you. Use them wisely. Don't overuse the resources. Don't try to borrow more than you need or buy more than you need. Try to keep it to a minimum. Optimum is using what you need. Don't cut the cloth so that you can't achieve what you want to achieve. At the same time, don't overspend. So there are two types of costs. One is the fixed cost, and this is a slide where I'm talking a little bit more about managing costs. Fixed costs are things like if you have a little place where you're paying some rent, you have to pay a fixed rent every month, which is your fixed, or you buy a computer. The computer is a fixed cost. Okay, it's not going to change. If you buy a vehicle which you're going to use for getting around, that becomes a sunk cost or a fixed cost. You are going to incur it, but that's not going to happen as a variable cost. You're not going to keep incurring it month after month after month. So fixed costs can't be altered. Sometimes you need these things. You need to have your, for example, your promotional letterheads, your website. You need to have some basic materials. You need to spend money. So what you need to reduce is what is called your variable cost, running cost, operational cost, things that you need to do to keep your operation running from day to day, month to month. Things like, you may be hiring somebody to do some work, or you may be paying, I mistakenly talked about rent. It's actually a variable cost. If the rent comes month after month, it's a variable cost because it's going to be a running cost of your company. Similarly, if you have to spend on electricity, internet, and like, those are things which are variable costs. You have to try and reduce that, keep that in control. You have to optimize the cash flow going out, which is very important. Startups fail because they run out of cash. This is the basic factor which you have to face. The cash coming in should always be greater than the cash going out. If you are not doing that, you may not be in trouble, but at some point of time, your cash is going to run out. So it's a warning sign. Remember, keep this formula in mind and try to always work so that you are having some cash coming in, and that revenue may be from whatever source. It could be people are paying you for your product, or some funding agency is giving you something to support your venture. There could be different ways of revenue coming in. Each social venture will have a different model, a different business model. I do not want to address your individual business models or the way you make revenue, but just keep one thing in mind. Don't let your expenses exceed your revenue. Try to keep it in check. And one way to do this is look at your entire operations and break it down to the lowest unit of work. I've talked a little bit about this in from ideation to execution, which is one of my other presentations on how to do program management. Do a work breakdown structure. Bring your tasks down to a lower level of tasks. Similarly, bring your costs down, your operational costs down to lowest unit of costs. And each cost, you try to see whether it's a required cost, whether it can be reduced, whether it can be done away with, eliminated. If you think you're spending unnecessarily on something, or you can do it for free, why do you want to spend on it? Okay, rearrange the work. Sometimes by doing it in a different order, you can actually save cost. And finally, when you get down to that base piece of work, assign a reasonable cost to it and say, I will stick to this cost. And when you add up all those costs together, you will get your total cost, which you expected, which is your running cost, how much it takes to run your enterprise. So that would help you to keep all these facts in mind. One way to boost your revenue is to find some alternative income. Delhi Metro, for example, has a lot of empty space on their carriages, on the railway stations. They put up advertisements there. So this is a quick way to get some money. And there are a number of other alternative ways. Sometimes if you have some spare resources, which you have purchased for your startup, which you're not using on a regular basis, you could share it with somebody else and ask them to share some money with you for that. So this is another way of doing things. There are numerous ways by which you could get a little additional revenue to meet your costs. So explore these ways. The last topic I would like to touch upon is what is called programmatic sustainability. And I think sustainability is not complete until we look at this aspect. So we've talked about programs in one of the previous presentations. A program is a sequence of activities which lead up to a desirable outcome, a final outcome. And a program is usually a series of projects. So what happens to your startup or your social enterprise once you achieve your initial aim? You achieved it, the product is deployed or the service is deployed, and it's up and running. Now you have to sustain it. It has to operate. It has to keep going on. It is an ongoing thing, right? So this is where we need a program. This is what is called programmatic sustainability. How do you keep it as an ongoing activity? Formal definition of it is integrating the important aspects into your organizational operation. So you need to build an organization an organizational process, a way of doing things. So all your stakeholders can benefit from that ongoing activity, which keeps going on. And programmatic sustainability is specifically the continuation of an individual program. So you may have multiple programs going on. For your startup, you may have 2 or 3 different initiatives. Each of one is a program, and each of them requires a sustainable system to keep it going. Usually, a program in isolation would have fewer organizational resources than the entire startup requires. And it would still support the organization vision and values. So it is important, if you want the final vision of the organization to be achieved, you need to see how much of your resources you're going to commit to each one of the programs and set up a plan. Just like you set up an overall plan when you're building it up, you set up an overall plan when it's being sustained as to how you're going to deploy resources on an ongoing basis. This is a process. Remember, it's like a cycle. You have to keep doing this, and then at the end of it, you have to start again and do it again and again. So you begin with the end in mind, what has to be done. Plan far enough ahead. Keep documenting your success. And the important thing is to publicize this. Talk about your success on social media. Let people know. If you let people know what you're doing, people will help you. They will probably give you some additional resources or some funding or something. They will show interest. Be aware of competition. Once you're well known, you're doing this, other people will want to do the same thing. Okay, and your space will get crowded. Now, just because you're a social enterprise doesn't mean there's no competition. It's as competitive as anything else. People will come with a similar idea and they will do it. I'm not saying that you are in a competitive market in the same way as a commercial market, but be aware that it's there. Then you cannot shy away from quality improvement. This is something which in industry is a very regular practice, and you need to understand that if you're having a product, you have to keep improving your product. You can't say that I've deployed it and it's going to be the same product. Similarly, a service, you have to keep taking feedback. So there's a point there where I say keep getting feedback. Talk to your customers about how they feel about your service and try to improve it. Review the program. Do we need to continuously keep doing this, or do we do it for a year and then do something else next year? So these are the kind of questions you need to ask. Do we do things differently? Do we modify it, or do we abandon it, or do we start something different? You need to have this program review. Then you can benefit by cultivating champions, people who are so passionate about your cause that they become like brand ambassadors. In the commercial world, we have people promoting, film stars promoting Pepsi Cola and Thumbs Up and all that. You need, similarly, if some celebrity comes onto your cause and says, I like what these people are doing and I'm happy to lend my voice and face to it and go on social media. Now that is a champion that you have, and cultivate these people who are visible and who will really help you. So one way is to give you visibility. The other way is to help you get access to resources. So there are people who will connect you to others who can help you. And all these people should be passionate about your cause. If you find somebody who's really passionate and wants to help you, cultivate them, don't let them go. Try to make them a part of your venture. Of course, the key is managing and leveraging resources. It's programs are all about resources and how you deploy them. Remember to keep managing them well. That is both the costs, both the people, and also the physical resources that you need to make your program successful. So I wish you good luck, folks. Remember, sustainability is ensuring the future of life on Earth. It's an infinite game, the endless expression of generosity on the behalf of all. It's a beautiful quote which I leave you with.